Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the show. Welcome into the insurance discussion. I am the number one agent, and what I do here is entertain and educate while I discuss insurance knowledge with trusted insurance professionals. Today's a special day. This is an educational one. This is going to be Insurance 101. Where I explain to you what insurance is. That way, you have a good, solid foundation and an understanding of what insurance is and what it's supposed to do and what it covers. Once you understand the foundation, then you can learn how to work your way around a claim. You'll learn how to speak to an insurance company when it's time to file a claim. So, what is insurance? Insurance is the contract that transfers the risk from the individual or the business over to the insurance company. Basically saying, hey, I don't have enough money liquid to handle a major catastrophic event if I caused it. If I hit a car and I hurt someone, I hurt a child, total out the vehicle, and I didn't have insurance, I wouldn't have the $70,000. Same thing with a business. If I'm a business and someone gets injured, someone's hurt, and they want to sue me for 2 million, I may not have that liquid to where I can cover these losses. And that's what this insurance is it's the transfer of the risk. Now there's two types of risk. One is speculative, the other one is pure risk. Now speculative is gambling, stocks, something where there's a possibility of gain and or loss. Example. Now, pure risk, on the other hand, this only involves the possibility of loss. Now, I just explained what a risk is. Now, how do you get a risk? A risk is a combination of two things. Risk is exposure plus a hazard. Now, what is exposure? Exposure is the potential for an accident to occur. Being exposed, being outside, being up, walking around, there's exposure. So just living life is exposure. Don't worry about that. You're going to keep living life. And I don't want you to walk around scared and in a shell saying, oh, I can't do anything because insurance. No, just understand that everything is a risk and exposures are everywhere. Now, hazards plus exposures creates the risk. Now, what's a hazard? A hazard can be three types. One can be physical, right? So a wet floor, a rotten tree, an old roof. These are physical hazards. The next type of hazard is a moral hazard. This means that someone could be dishonest. Someone being dishonest could lead to losses or profits being missed by a company, right? And then the next one is going to be morale. Morale is the type of hazard where someone would leave their keys in the car and run into the store and think that, hey, I'm just going to be in there for a few minutes, nothing's going to happen. So it's kind of like being careless. So one is physical, the other one has to do with your character, and the other one has to do with you being just kind of careless and lackadaisical about life. Now, let's take a look at this video. I've got a short video that I want to show you. It encompasses 3 videos, and in these 3 videos, we can go over and acknowledge the types of hazards that there are. We can understand risk and we can understand exposure. Let's take a look. Now, let's talk about this. What's the exposure? The exposure is being inside of this facility, right? Living life. That's the exposure. Exposure plus hazard equals risk. What are the hazards? Not a lot of hazards here inside of this facility. As you can see, they've got the netting, they've got a safety net back behind the coach, nothing but couches and furniture off to the side, maybe an air conditioner off in the back. But other than the air conditioner and the lighting, not a lot of hazards, right? I mean, maybe if you were over there playing on chairs, that would be a hazard. I didn't like the fact she had the bat between her feet. She could have tripped over that. That could have been a hazard. But we're just acknowledging what the hazards are and what the exposure is. And by having those two combined, now there's a risk. The hazard is also the flying baseball at 50, 60 miles an hour. And so now you have the hazard of the flying baseball, the hazard of the hanging light. They connect and there's exposure to it. There's the risk. Now there's glass all over the place. The glass is now the new hazard. Being in the location is the exposure. And now there's a risk of injury by glass. This is how insurance works. This is how insurance companies think. And this is how you need to think if you're going to start to understand how to win your claims against insurance companies. Let's go on to the next one. From what I could see, there's a young lady out there trying a TikTok challenge, which is the exposure. She's exposed herself to the TikTok challenge, right? She's got a Truly vodka soda. This is not advertisement for that company, but that is what is on top of that basketball. So alcohol is involved. There's a TikTok challenge. Alcohol's involved. And she's dealing with the law of random bounce, meaning that this thing is never going to bounce the same 2 consecutive times. It could, but it would be a miracle because things change. The distance from the ground, the angle, the surface of the ground, how much liquid came up out of the can the first time. If there's the same amount of liquid in this can as the other can that pulled it off, there's too many variables. And she's willing to try this, but this is part of the hazard. Her just doing the TikTok challenge is the exposure, and being outside is the exposure. Now, what kind of hazards are out there? Right? I see concrete, I see windows, I see chairs. She's barefoot. We have no idea what's going to happen. Let's go ahead and we do have an idea, but when this thing first occurs or when it first takes place, she has no idea what's going to happen. And she's going to find out real quick that she put herself in a pure risk, a high risk situation. Who wants to end up like this? Put a 1 in the chat if this is how you want to end up in front of your friends and on the internet. No way. All right, let's go to the next video. And I think this is more of a moral hazard because this guy is showing you he just don't give a damn. It means something to you, but it means absolutely nothing to him. Let's watch. Hey, dude, you exposed yourself and he caught you at the right time, right when you were putting up that last cup. But is this guy more likely to destroy your stuff because he doesn't care about it? Yeah, he's showing a character flaw. Now, these aren't difficult concepts to understand. Two types of risk: speculative and pure. Insurance only covers pure risk. In order to have a risk, there needs to be a hazard and an exposure to the hazard. These are things that you need to be aware of and show situational awareness when you're doing things. And when I tell you take accountability, this is what I mean. When you see someone doing the TikTok challenge in a situation where the ball, the can go either way, the person's inebriated, and we're next to a pool, windows, glass, chairs, speak up and say something. They tell you don't allow people to drive drunk. Don't allow people to do ignorant things that can lead to higher healthcare costs. I'll catch up with you next time. This is the insurance discussion.